California passed a law several years ago that created a system to decertify officers who commit serious misconduct. Lawmakers wanted to address the so-called wandering officer problem, where some cops would bounce between departments, leaving a trail of bad behavior. A KPBS investigation revealed there are hundreds of departments around the state that appear to be skirting the law by underreporting potential misconduct cases to the state. And I'm joined now by KPBS reporter Scott Rodd, who broke this story. Welcome.
Thanks, Maya.
So let's start with the California decertification system. How many officers have actually had their badges stripped?
So we found that it's about 300 officers. And to take a step back, this law was passed in 2021. This is around the time that there was a national reckoning over racial justice and police accountability. And lawmakers in California wanted to set up a system where they could identify officers who committed serious misconduct and strip them of their certification. Essentially, that means that they can no longer be an officer anywhere else in California. They can't bounce between departments. The way the decertification process works is agencies or members of the public can flag serious misconduct. That includes things like dishonesty, abuse of power, excessive use of force, racial bias, and then the state takes a look at these cases, and if they investigate and find that in fact an officer did commit serious misconduct, their badge will be stripped. And the state was inundated with cases, tens of thousands of them. Again, 300 officers so far have been decertified, but there is a backlog. There's about 18,000 cases that are still open and waiting to be investigated.
That is a large number. Now, you report that the system only works if law enforcement agencies actually participate in this, but there are some departments around the state that seem to be underreporting and ignoring the law altogether. So tell us, how many departments exactly are we talking about here?
Well, there are hundreds of departments that have reported several cases or fewer. Some have reported zero. And now some of them are these tiny little agencies, ones that have maybe just a couple officers, obscure law enforcement departments, where it's maybe not surprising that there aren't many or any serious misconduct reports. But there are some that are mid-sized departments that are city police departments, some sheriff's offices, some campus police departments, where there are just maybe several cases or zero. And that is alarming for people who are keeping an eye on this, including Stephen Bradford. He's the former state senator who introduced the law that created the decertification system.
Because, again, of those that have been brought forward, the real issue is the number of agencies that are not reporting the violations. That's the greatest concern right now, because we know there are plenty of departments who are still not fully cooperating.
And I should note that there are dozens of agencies that not only haven't reported any cases of serious misconduct, but they also never responded when the state inquired to say, hey, are you sure that there are zero? Are you maybe underreporting? There are some of those agencies that just didn't respond at all.
So give us some examples of law enforcement agencies that seem to be underreporting these cases.
So there are examples up and down the state. I'll start with a local one, El Cajon Police Department. They have 120 officers. They've only reported one potential case of serious misconduct. Now, compared to other departments and agencies around the state that have a similar number of officers, those other agencies reported 80 serious misconduct cases, maybe 40 or 60. So the numbers are much, much higher than El Cajon's just one reported potential serious misconduct case. Now, El Cajon PD told me, look, we follow the law. We submit anything that meets the specific criteria for serious misconduct. Another example in Central California, Tuolumne County Sheriff's Office. They have about 100 officers, and they have submitted zero serious misconduct reports. And not only that, this is one of those examples where the state reached out and said, hey, are you sure there are zero serious misconduct reports? The Tuolumne County Sheriff's Office just never responded to it. I also reached out for comment. They didn't get back to me.
Very, very thorough reporting. So tell us, where do you think we go from here? Is anybody making a proposal to change this law?
Yeah, there's some discussion happening right now, certainly with the folks that I interviewed for this story, because the law doesn't include any kind of enforcement mechanism. Essentially, it leaves up to the agencies to do what's right and follow through on the requirements. But if an agency doesn't report or underreports serious misconduct cases, they don't face any punishment. Now, there are police accountability advocates that I spoke to who say, look, we really need to tighten up this law, introduce some enforcement mechanisms. That includes Michali Woodship. That includes Ms. Charlie Woodson. She is the legal director for Pillars of the Community here in San Diego.
That's the only way to have true accountability, right? And meaningful accountability is if they are required to participate in this process.
Now, any changes would require follow-up legislation. It should be noted there hasn't been anything introduced yet that would follow up on this law and make tweaks to it.
Oh, very interesting work. Thank you so much, KPBS investigative reporter Scott Rodd.
Thank you.
Now, if you have a tip for KPBS's investigations team, you can send an email to investigations@kpbs.org, or you can message them on our secure signal line at the number that you see on your screen, 619-594-8177.